Come get your war bonds hot and ready. Liberty bonds, war bonds, any price, ranging from $50 to $1,000. Support your country, show your patriotism, stomp the Kaiser out.
Hear that guy over there? He's trying to do his part in financing the war. What a patriot. What a man.
The U.S. was financially unprepared for the outbreak of World War I. During the war, the country went through many financial changes, such as a different tax collecting organization and a bond system. War expenses totaled approximately $33 billion.
During the war, the United States lent money to its allies in Europe so they could continue their war efforts. However, to afford these expenses, the U.S. had to loan money from its citizens in the form of Liberty bonds or Liberty loans. And it turns out that at the end of the war, the country had lost money because its allies in Europe couldn't pay back all the money they loaned, and the U.S. had to pay back all of its citizens plus interest.
The United States sold Liberty bonds and war bonds as a way to borrow money from the public. These bonds all had an image of the Statue of Liberty, giving the bonds their name. Patriotism was another incentive the government gave for people to buy these bonds. People could buy them ranging from $5 to $1,000, relying on the knowledge that the government would pay back with interest. In 1917 alone, the U.S. made $18.7 billion from selling bonds. These bonds were so enticing that even after the war, citizens continued the practice of investing. Parents would often invest money into these bonds for their newborn children. Liberty bonds were advertised very effectively through propaganda in the form of posters and rallies.
Posters and propaganda revolved around the depicted evilness of the Kaiser and the patriotism of an average American civilian. The Kaiser and the Germans would be personified as evil monsters, or Huns. The posters made people think that not buying bonds would be unpatriotic. They used this in an attempt to entice civilians into buying bonds, and they directly affected children through the use of thrift stamps.
Thrift stamps cost 25 cents each, and when 16 were collected, they could be exchanged for war savings stamps, or certificates, which bore interest compounded quarterly at 4% and were tax-free. War savings stamps could be registered at any post office, insuring the owner against loss, and sold back to the government through any post office with 10 days written notice. The campaign began on January 2, 1918, and closed at the year's end. When the war savings stamps matured on January 1, 1923, the Treasury Department promised to pay $5 for each certificate. This program raised just over $1 billion. Many public school teachers were authorized to implement this thrift program, teaching children the values of patriotism and saving money.
The War Finance Corporation was created by Congress on April 5, 1918. It mainly focused on making loans to financial institutions such as railroad companies and agricultural and livestock industries for the 6 months it was alive. In total, it raised over $71.4 million.
The Victory Loan was a bond issued as a final attempt to pay for World War I costs in support of the soldiers. It consisted of two series of 3 to 4 year convertible gold notes with interest rates ranging from 3.75 to 4.75%. The bonds could be bought from $50,000 to $100,000. It raised $4.1 billion in total.
Because the United States was not in total war, its home front was not targeted by enemies in Europe, which made it that much easier to raise funds for the war. With all these financing strategies, the United States was able to provide enough money for a successful war.